Hey everybody, welcome to This Week in WordPress. It's Friday, so you know what that means. All of the best news, tutorials, and resources that came out this week in WordPress. And technically last week as well, since we had technical difficulties and couldn't get to it. So before, we might as well get to it then. You can tell that I had the wrong thing on the transition there, right? So, welcome everybody. I apologize for not being here last week. I really am sorry about that. There were issues with the software. I'm not exactly sure why it wouldn't work, but I updated it and it decided that buttons didn't want to press and stream or do anything. So it didn't work. So I've got it back working apparently because you guys are talking and seeing me. So that is fantastic. I hope that the last 2 weeks for you guys have been wonderful and hopefully not quite as hectic as mine have been. But we're here. We're here to talk about WordPress and all the cool stuff. So what I did this week, and for those of you who are new to the show, what we do every week is we get together and we talk about stuff that was published this week about WordPress. We talk about news stuff that's going on and resources and tutorials and things like that that just kind of make our weeks and professional lives a little bit better. Maybe your hobby life, whatever that is. And so this week and last week I've kind of combined into one list, and you can find all of these articles that I'm going to be talking about in the description of this video. So you can click through any of them, read them, keep all of your tabs open, anything like that, so that you can, have every last bit of detail that you can get out of this. So I combined last week's and this week's links, like I said, so you're going to be able to get a whole lot of them in here. So I'm going to overload Uncle Social and, oh no, my brain has just decided to die on LC, so got hers messed up as well. She's going to be overpowered as well. So let's get to it. Hi everybody. I see from California and Berlin and Iowa, Bangladesh. That one's far away from me. That is literally a world away from here. And Brazil. Oh my goodness. Hello everybody. Let's see. Yeah, let's do it. Cyprus. Nice. Cyprus is beautiful. I think. I mean, I've seen pictures. I've never been there. So the first thing that came out in the news this week that I noticed that I'm really glad that we can talk about is that WordPress itself is 15 years old. That WP Tavern has this article that I linked up, and it is 15 years ago on the 27th, so about 4 days ago, that WordPress 1.0 was released, that we got the very first version of WordPress. And I'm curious if any of y'all who are watching this right now were actually around for WordPress 1.0, that if you had installed it or were very new on it. If any of you guys know what WordPress version you were on, let me know, because I'm curious on that as well, because I came in at 2.7. That was the one that I was in. And when 1.0 came around, I was not blogging. I was actually involved in stuff like online forums way more. I was doing my communication like that and doing my long expository posts in different message boards. So I wasn't really cool on blogging yet. And then it rolled around and I got in at 2.7. So that was I think 2008, the end of 2008. So there was a lot going on between now and then, and we have 5.0 coming out really soon. Not sure when. They haven't put a release date out on it, or even a projected release date, but it's coming, and we have 4.9.6. So it is nuts that all of this is going. That five major releases have already come out or are ready to come out, I guess. So 15 years is just crazy to me. I mean, I think back to 2003, and it's just blows my mind that I know that, like Shell in the YouTube comments says that forums were the thing, because that's what it was. That I was all about video game forums is what it was for me. Ultima Online, forums, and I like Star Wars Galaxies and World of Warcraft in 2004. Stuff like that's where I lived. So just to think that was what I was doing 15 years ago, and Matt was making WordPress. I mean, that just blows my mind. So Uncle Social says that forums killed Usenet, and it did, but it's because they're way better than Usenet. I have never liked Usenet, and this is where you stop being my friend, Uncle Social. I'm sorry, but that's one that I've never really liked, just using myself. So. But yeah, 15 years old. Think about that, y'all. That is just absolutely crazy for me to think about. And I see a couple people have come in. Hi, Alexis. Hi, Simon. I'm glad y'all could join us. And so, related to the 15-year anniversary, 93 Digital posted a WordPress time machine, so that if you follow the links through this and see it, you can click through and see what the base WordPress looked like and what the dashboard looked like in every release of WordPress. So it's really cool for me to go back and see exactly what WordPress looked like when I was when I first started. And I looked, and I didn't even realize, I never realized that the font changed in the dashboard, that they used to have a serif font on the inside, on the back end, and I didn't even notice that it had changed into the sans serif that we have today. And just seeing that was just nostalgic. I'm like, oh yeah, man, I used to, that was great. Those are the times. So y'all should definitely go check that out and look at the time machine that 93 Digital out of London did, because that's really, really cool. I see in the WordPress comments, I guess technically that's true, in the YouTube comments, asked about the header and footer updates for Divi. We're working on them. They are going to be put out soon, and I put soon in quotation marks on this because I don't have a date. I know that the dev team is working on them right now. I know that we're hearing about them in the Slack channels that we're in, and it's being part of the discussion. I just have no idea what a timeline is. The dev team really is it's done when it's done kind of thing. We don't want to release anything that is going to mess up anything that you're already working on and have out there, but it is being worked on. I do promise you that it is not something that it is something that we're like, oh no, yeah, maybe sometime. No, it is absolutely being worked on right now. But I just do not know what it is. When it is, rather, excuse me. Alexis on Facebook says WordPress is sweet, but in maximum 12 months you have your own MVC language. It's true. Way better than WordPress for clients. I tried that. That was actually a route that I'd gone, Alexis. That was something that whenever I first came in, I was working on an MVC based around Rails and Ruby, and was really trying to extend it. And for me, and this, like I said, this is just me, it's something that I ended up falling back into WordPress simply because of the community here. I thought that it was going to be wonderful. I was going to be one of those guys who developed so much of my own stuff and wrote everything and really took in from these small bits of community that were around different parts. And for me, it was that WordPress, oh my gosh, that WordPress was what I needed to use. And where is my stream? It says I'm offline. I do not know. OBS is actually telling me that I'm red. If you're on Facebook right now, let me know if you can hear me, because it seems to still be going a little bit. And no, YouTube is not liking me at all right now either. So let's see. Let's see what I can do to fix this. I do not understand why this is continually messing up like this. Now I'm back in the green. I'm showing green on OBS right now, so we're going to hope that it comes back on any of this. I hope that hopefully you guys can see me right now a little bit. I'm going to type in if y'all can see it. Okay, it's back. I see people saying it's back. So that's great. Maybe we can do it's 5 FPS at 240. I have no ideas, you guys, what this is going on, because I'm showing on OBS that I'm running at green and taking up less than a third of my CPU right now to do this, and I'm running at 25 FPS. This is really, really, really weird. I do not know exactly why that is, but I'm back right now, and we're gonna pretend that I'm back. I think I'm back. So yeah. But one of the other ones I've noticed on here. Okay, Jennifer on Facebook can see me. Awesome. So I'm going to move forward just a little bit and see what we do with the stream and the stream health. So moving forward with the news, kind of moving. I don't know how to say it. It's kind of adjacent to the WordPress anniversary. We've got a WordCamp US 2018, the one that's coming out this year, that's happening this year in Nashville, Tennessee again. Is accepting speaker proposals. So this is where you guys need to be this is what you guys need to do. In December, you need to mark your calendars, and y'all need to come to the United States if you're not from the States, and if you are in the States, then you need to come to Tennessee, and you need to head to Nashville and go to WordCamp US. It was seriously the best conference I've been to. It was so much fun, and I didn't even go to a single panel. I went and I was hanging out with you guys. I was hanging out with the Divi people. I was doing everything I could to meet the community. Oh man, and get and just get involved, and it was fantastic. And right now, until July 1st, they're accepting proposals for panels, and you guys need to do this. Think about it. Think about things that you're an expert in. Think about stories that you have to tell, things that you've learned over the years, and how that can help somebody who is in a position that you've been in before. That is really, really important for these camps, that so many people come to WordCamps who are new to WordPress, who may not be sold on WordPress, who may have not downloaded WordPress, as one of my last ones that I was doing in Birmingham, Alabama, that they came in and hadn't even downloaded WordPress, but the presentations helped them decide that was the CMS that they needed. So if you are even remotely interested in the kind of conference scene, WordCamp is very laid back, very friendly, and the WordCamp US in Nashville is awesome. The folks that are the WordPress community in Nashville, Tennessee is insanely awesome. That they are incredibly dedicated and working with folks around the nation for putting it together. It's just one of those conferences that's hard to recreate anywhere else. So I think you guys will really enjoy it. So if you do submit something, let me know. I'm just curious on what you would even want to do. So so I know you're experts, and this is time to show off. So I wanted to make sure that you guys had the opportunity to show off. So there's that. Just really briefly, last week, WordPress.org updated its own privacy policies. Updated its own privacy policies, and it's pretty much like everybody else. It's the GDPR stuff, but I thought you guys should know. Just make sure that you're aware that WordPress did everything just like it was supposed to, which means that you are now partially compliant with GDPR because that also applies to your use of the software as well. Torque put together at the bottom of the news section here a GDPR list of resources that you can use. So if you've been having trouble with all of this, and I know we're all tired of hearing about GDPR, they put together a really good list of just resources for you to finish up getting involved with the GDPR and getting compliant. And then we at Elegant Themes have updated our privacy policy as well. Yay! We knew that y'all knew that we would to be GDPR compliant. So you guys should take a look at it, see how everything is being used. We have your back, so there's nothing that you need to worry about there. But they are there now to read and take care of and make sure that everything is on the up and up with you. And as well, I see people in the comments now that's making me laugh. Uncle Social has to bang Nashville, Tennessee into Google Maps to see where it is. He thinks it has something to do with country music. Good. It is not right in the middle, though. It is in the southeast. It is about, I'm going to say, 700 miles east of the middle. But it's pretty close. Some people think that Tennessee that's where I grew up, was in about an hour south of Nashville, and it's some people say that that's the Midwest, and it is not. It is the South. But it is a wonderful town. Shell is from California and loves Nashville, and I don't think there's any way not to love Nashville. It's really growing, and it's really becoming a tech hub, which is strange that people have kind of migrated. They associate it with country music, and at the same time there is a huge community of honestly WordPress people, software developers moving in and making the city something else. So it's not the traditional, like almost stereotypical Southern country music town that some people might think of if they've never been there. It is a magnificent town, and since they're taking speaker admissions, it's worth taking a trip to this year. And a foodie, yeah, there's some good food in Nashville. It's great. So yeah, speaker proposals, like I said. And then the very last thing I wanted to talk about in news, and I put this in news because I think everybody here needs to know about this. The Yoast has posted, and they posted about that we're now going to have to go back to shorter meta descriptions. That a while back they had actually lengthened the amount that you could put into the meta box because Google had made their meta descriptions much longer, and so that we could like really get in and let people know what the articles were about when they searched. And now they are no longer going to be the long 320, 400-ish character current tweet length, basically, meta descriptions. They're moving it back to the old 150. So Google did this. There is nothing this is not on Yoast at all, but there is confirmation from Google that they have moved it back to the shorter meta descriptions. So if you have been using any of the long ones on your sites, if you decided that you were going to go update all of your old posts to have longer, more descriptive meta descriptions, then you might want to go back and cut it back to what it used to be. Honestly, since they're about 150 to 170 characters, Yoast says, then you should probably keep it to a tweet. If you couldn't tweet it and let people know what it's about, then the old tweets, I mean, obviously, if you can't say it in a tweet, then you can't say it to Google at this point. So to me, I think that's a step backwards because I actually like the longer meta descriptions. It's something that I think really helped to both my searching, and it helped me with being able to use the right words to describe it when I was synopsizing what I was writing about. And now it's basically trying to get a green on Yoast and make sure that everything's in there. It's absolutely meh. I mean, that's the only word for me to say is meh. But it's something y'all should really be taken into mind when you're making stuff now and putting out content and working with clients. I see that Jennifer on Facebook was just in Nashville last weekend and saw you too. I am jealous. I am so jealous, Jennifer. Did you see them at Bridgestone inside, or were you able to go to one? Was it at one of the amphitheaters outside? Because some of the amphitheaters there are just wonderful to be able to just lay around on the grass and listen, and you two would be wonderful at one of those as well. That's awesome. I missed out on seeing the Foo Fighters a couple of weeks ago because of just too much stuff going on, and but in Nashville, so I'm jealous. I didn't get to go to my concert, but I'm glad you got to go to yours. That's awesome. Judy says that tech's a comfortable complement to music, speaking of Nashville, that when musicians discover self-promotion, they really start making their own websites and social media, and tech and music is a tech side of music and the creative side of tech equals Nashville, and that's absolutely right. The first one that I went to, the first WordCamp I went to in 2016 was just WordCamp Nashville, and it had a very similar feel to the way WordCamp US did this year, and it was that very creative side of tech. It was not the cut and dry software conference or anything like that. It was very much open and creative and open to interpretation and ideas and just seeing new things. So absolutely, Judy. So yeah, that's awesome that you guys are this into Nashville too. I hope you guys come and I get to meet you guys this year at in Nashville. So that was all the news that I've been able to really put together as far as real news. I mean, 15th anniversary of WordPress. That's insane to me. WordCamp proposals, all sorts of policy updates, but honestly, to me, the big one is that the meta descriptions are going down, because that's going to affect all of us. And I think Shell on YouTube said it best with just grrr, because that's really what it is. So that's the news. If you're just tuning in, if you're just joining us, this is This Week in WordPress, and we are just finishing up with the news section. Every week I go through the news tutorials and different resources that were put out that week. Since we missed last week, I've put last week's and this week's together, so you get a double dose of awesome. So just make sure you check the description to have all of the links that we're talking about today. And feel free to throw anything in the comments that you absolutely can. I love talking with you guys. This is one of my favorite things. I tried this for a long time before we had the community that we have around it, and it was much harder to do, honestly, just going through this than having the conversations with you guys. You're the ones who make this successful, so I'm really, really thankful for you. So speak up. Moving into all of the tutorials and stuff, there's one, the very top tutorial was a WPMU Dev article that I see come up a lot. This is a topic that people are talking about, where it's how to vet and hire a WordPress subcontractor. And this is different than a WordPress freelancer. So this is something where you're already the freelancer. You're already doing work, and you don't have enough time, effort, or resources to be able to finish the project. And so you have to hire someone to do that work for you. It's subcontracting out. You have the contract, and then you make a subcontract. And sometimes you have to subcontract out work to people that you don't really know that well. Sometimes you have to do it for just something to get the job done, and you don't have a lot of time to just approach every person in your contacts list. So this article is going through ways that you can vet them and find them. Some people actually use Fiverr to do subcontract. Sometimes you just need people to read through blog posts and stuff like that. Sometimes you just need people to proofread for you that you can get off of Fiverr. Just anything like that you can do, but it talks all about the entire process of doing this, from posting and writing the job description, what kind of skills that you need to say that they have that you're looking for, the rate of pay, to make sure that you can afford them and while you're still making money off the project yourself. And it's really good because they go through interviewing, all sorts of stuff. So definitely check that out, because if you feel overworked with the amount of projects that you've got on you, it might be a good idea to subcontract some of the tasks that don't require quite the level of attention that you need to give a project, and you can subcontract out the others. They're super useful. I've never done it myself, but I've been one of the subcontractors, so it's super nice. Oh, excuse me, y'all know how dry my mouth gets. I see Uncle Social does not like U2. I'm so sorry. I'm not a huge fan of U2. It's not something I'm like, I'm going to listen to U2 right now. But when they come on, I'm like, oh, I didn't know this was U2. I like that. I really, really do like it. And Jennifer saw them at Bridgestone, so that's fantastic. That's a great venue. I do love it. And Ola, hi, I see you in Facebook comments. And Uncle Social says, someone who grew up with SMS messaging, loved the old shorter tweets and shorter meta descriptions. That was actually what made me like Twitter in the first place, was that I could be thrift with my words, that I had to make sure I said what I said, and I said it the best way possible. I've always told people that Twitter in 2009 made me a better writer today, because it made me cut back on some of the wordiness that I gained from being an academic. And I hold to it that absolutely blogging and tweeting made sure that my my writing became better. And I hold to it. I always will. I think it was the 140 character limit that did that. So that was awesome. Hi, Michael, coming in on Facebook. Shell says, however, if you shifted and take advantage of going back to what was, it's just redundant work. It's all fast-paced. Yeah, it's... sorry, my brain. However, if you shifted and take advantage of going back to what was just redundant work. Yeah, it's a balancing act in a lot of ways when you're dealing with subcontractors. Like, it's not an easy thing, because you do have to balance, you know, what if you just take on, I don't know, I like the idea of it and have never done it. So, in that same vein, I saw an article that was another WPMU dev. I always trip up a little bit when I say it, but a WPMU dev article on increasing your freelance rates. It is charge what you're worth. And I'm not gonna. People talk about this a lot. I'm not going to harp on this. You guys hear this all the time. Whether you're in an agency or a freelance setting, whatever it is, however you run it, I want you to charge what you're worth. And I want you to read this, and because it talks about ways that you can increase your hourly rate. It talks about how the average freelancer makes 19 bucks an hour, which is not bad, but you can get more than that. And part of it is making sure that you're doing the right things, and you may be doing some of them wrong. I was doing some of them wrong. We've talked about this before, but they have some new stuff in there that we haven't talked about, and I'm going to clickbait you on this one, and to see what it is, click inside. So, there are other things that I found that are super cool. Digit did a really cool blog on how to change your WordPress default admin username. I'd actually done something similar to this with a different plugin, but you know how it says in the WordPress dashboard, when you go into a user's name, it says usernames cannot be changed when you're editing the password, email address, and all that. You go to users, and then you click into their name and all this. You can change admin and usernames. That is no problem. You just can't do it from the back end like that. You can't do it from the dashboard. And so many so many places have the default admin username as admin. That's why these brute force attacks that are going on work, is because people don't change it from admin. And if you need to change it, if there's only one admin, you don't know what it is, whatever the case is going on, you can change it in a couple of ways. Excuse me. That this one is using a plugin called WP Edit Username, which I think is pretty good, because it tells you exactly what you're going to do. They tell you how to go through, because what they do here is edit the database. That's all it's doing, is editing the database tables for WP users. It's the whatever it is underscore users table in your database, and it's changing all the instances in that and users meta to whatever the new value is. So they'll be able to log in, instead of as admin, they're going to be logging in as Shell Haney is awesome, and that's going to be their username, whatever it is, however you do it. Then I was looking at your name when I said that, if you couldn't tell, Shell, and that you can do this. If this is something that any client of yours has, if this ever happens to a client of yours, or you take on a project and you see that they have an admin username, if you use admin yourself, anything at all, you can change any of the usernames that you want by using this plugin. This one is awesome because, yeah, Monique in the YouTube comments right now says that she's been wanting to change the from admin. I actually had a project last year when I was given the website credentials that it was admin, and I didn't even think about looking for a plugin to change it. I just kind of stuck with it, and now, like, when I discovered this, I'm like, I wonder if they would want me to go back and change that because it's terrible. And I may be doing that for them the next time that it was for that festival. The festival will roll around again, and so it's something that's awesome. You can also do that with a search and replace in the WordPress databases. It's a lot more complex if you're using something like PHP MyAdmin because you're going to have to do a find and replace query on multiple tables and values. But you can also use a plugin that I was messing with it today called Better Search and Replace, which basically lets you. It's still dealing with the database tables. You're still going to have to do it, but you can highlight all of the tables that you have in your installation and then do the search and replace. You can type in admin, find what tables it's in, like users and users meta is where you're going to really want to go for this. And you can type in admin and then you can replace it with whatever you want. I changed one of mine on a demo site today. And it worked absolutely perfectly, logging in, doing everything like that. So there are ways to do this, and you just can't do it by default. You can't go in and just let people change their usernames, and you can't change for someone else. But if you really, really need to, there are ways to do it. I mean, it's technology. You can hack anything. So, and I'm not saying this is a hack, but this is something that is more complicated than just going in and installing a theme and making a new folder. You're actually messing with database values. So make sure you back up and do all of that before you actually do any of them. And Colombian Hosting brings up a really good point in that changing the login from /wp-admin to something else, that it helps with the brute force attacks as well, because that's where they're going, is to /wp-admin. And I know that there are lots of tutorials out there on how to do that as well, but whenever you do that, please don't do just a /login either, because that one is also kind of, it's like using password 123 and then changing it to password 123 exclamation mark. So it's better, but not a lot better. So that's a really good thing. I haven't done that myself, so I know that Colombian is gonna look at me and be like, no. But it's something that it absolutely needs to be done. And it's very important that you do it. I'm just very lazy. Like, I will be straight up honest that I'm lazy about that. I can't remember exactly what the login was that my last client used, but it might have been /members, or it might have been /user or something along those lines. /client /employee was one that I've seen before. Stuff like that, just where it'll just be the back end login screen. That's all it does, is move that login box. So, and yeah, Shell, I'm the same way. I see the roots, I check them. Actually, I'm one of the guys that when I go to different websites and realize it's WordPress, I type in /wp-admin and just see if I can get in the back end with admin and password. Occasionally I do, and it's really terrible. So, and the thing is, though, I don't ever want to be a jerk and tell them when I do that, like it's them and be like, hey, by the way, I got into your back end and you need to change your password, because that's illegal. But it's something that I would want somebody to tell me. But that is specifically why you need to change these things, by the way. But that kind of thing is why we're having this discussion right now. And I agree, Shell, that is something they do need to know. It's absolutely, please go do that. If nothing else, change the admin username. That alone makes a big deal, makes a really big difference. and please, and just in terms of security, why don't we go on into this? I haven't, oh my goodness, thought about this in a long time, but I don't have an article for this, and just now popped into my head. In most places, unless they require you to use specific hashing for their passwords, you know, the uppercase and a lowercase and a symbol and a number, unless they do that kind of strong password stuff, which isn't really that strong, you can, in most of the places, use spaces in there. So you can make phrases or just random words. You can have Colombian Tiger social headphone as your password as individual words, and that is a much stronger password to hack and be encrypted than just having it be headphones with a capital H and a Z 11 exclamation point. Stuff like that is very important to do as well. So if you haven't researched any of that on password protection, while we're talking about it, go look up getting stuff like that. So that's a good idea to do too. There's a good conversation going on in the YouTube comments right now about there's a Computer Misuse Act of 1990 in the UK that says you can go to jail forever for logging into a site with default credentials. I mean, slight exaggeration. But it is illegal for doing that. Stuff like that is nuts. That I mean, it's because it's bad to do stuff like that. Also, you can also look at yourself as a white hat or a gray hat hacker doing stuff like that for security purposes. So, you know, like Obi-Wan said, from a certain point of view. But moving forward just a little bit, there are some really cool things that you can do with crowdfunding right now, and this one just kind of got my attention on making, it's called How to Launch a Crowdfunding Campaign with WordPress, and there are a lot of different ways to do it, and I've run successful Kickstarters, and I use WordPress as a way to promote it, and this article goes through stuff like that, as well as using things like Give and other donation plugins and specific themes for going with to take money and do your own crowdfunding. Excuse me. And now I'm seeing people say the stream is going out again. Oh my goodness! There's where it drops right there from 60 FPS to 22. I don't know if you guys can see me right now. Hopefully you guys can on Facebook maybe. But there was there was a comment on Facebook that says, what do Elsa and BJ have in common? And it's because we're frozen. And that is and hopefully that was the first thing that some of you guys saw and heard whenever I came back. You say I'm back, so that's awesome. But just make sure that I'm sorry about this, you guys. I have no idea what's going on. Everything seems to be like hooked up exactly like it should be, and I don't understand. I even restarted my router before this. Would you believe that? So I don't know, but whatevs. So look at the rest of the tutorials. There are some really cool things in here. The last one that I really want to talk about is Squarespace to WordPress, a migration guide. It's something that I think more people need to look at. I have some friends who podcast off of Squarespace, and they always, whenever I run across one of these how to migrate away from Squarespace articles, I send it to them, and because I like to mess with them because they really like it. And I mean, it's good stuff. I mean, I've used Squarespace before myself, but it's always just funny to me to mess with them. But this is an article that goes the entire way through setting up and migrating. So if you have people who are doing that, who use Squarespace, it might be something to think about sending to them, letting them know about WordPress if they've expressed any kind of discontent with the current state of their websites and software and how they handle everything. So I mean, that's that's just something I thought that people needed to know about. And that's all the tutorials that I was going to get through today. I wanted to move into the resources section now. So if you've come in the last few minutes, I want to apologize for the screen delay and lag. Most of the time I've been sitting here in the green on OBS and seeing exactly what it is, like where it's supposed to be, and then occasionally it dips into the red and comes back up again. I do not understand, but I really am truly sorry and trying to figure out why it's doing this. Also, since I'm moving into the resources section, feel free to go back after the stream is done, and you can watch the entire stream from the beginning and look at and follow along with any of the articles that we're going through and the conversations, I think. And you can click on any of the links at any time in the description of this video. So you can do that. Also, hi Michael, I see you in Facebook. That is glad to see that you could make it today. So the resources, that the first one is really, really important, especially for everybody, really. But it's Flywheel was putting this out as free and affordable productivity apps for freelancers on a budget. And I really think that this is good for everybody. That it's always good to know where they're talking about things that you either may know about. And I mean, the first one is Trello. And if you haven't used Trello, it's worth checking out. These are pieces of software and apps and just resources that you can do that might make your day a little bit easier in the long run, because you have to set up a lot of these. But once you have them set up, then you can really do whatever you want to do. And I've spent a lot of time setting up Trello and Basecamp organization so that I can actually do what I need to do in projects. I'm kind of a nerd about project management, so I have a lot of fun doing that. So when I saw Trello and Todoist on here, it was great because they're free, and I've had a lot of luck using them as free apps. And I know that we at Elegant Themes have Trello boards that we use to make sure that everything is working, and we use Slack and everything like that. So I wanted to point this one out to you. They go through Evernote, and then they talk about making sure that you get paid. Something that one of the things we've talked about on here before, and I wanted to kind of reiterate when I saw in this one, was getting paid, and that how you guys may not have a system that you like to get paid, to make sure that you have contracts and to make sure that you can invoice and get paid like you want. Because it's kind of annoying. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I hate invoicing. I haven't invoiced in a while, and I know I have a couple of outstanding that I haven't gotten paid for because of me, and it's kind of bad. And so they have, the first one is Bonsai, which I've never used Bonsai before, and what it is a suite of tools for freelancing, which involves invoicing and proposals as well as project management. So it kind of goes all through it together. And I haven't used it, but I've looked at it, and it looks really, really cool. And then the second one under that one is Wave. And I think I recommended Wave before. If I didn't, then I want to make sure that I recommend it now at waveapps.com. It is essentially a free version of QuickBooks, and I used it before I got QuickBooks when I did my taxes, and since I'm using it for free, I just switched over to it. But Wave does everything that it does. It's completely free, and you can even take payments through them. I sent out so many invoices using Wave and kept up with my expenses using it. I cannot recommend this enough, that if you have been looking for an actual, real, honest-to-goodness invoicing software that you don't have to pay an arm and a leg for, go look at Wave. I'm pretty sure that some of you guys use it. If you've not mentioned it, it was a different show or something. It was a different group of people I was talking about who had. But Wave is something that I cannot recommend highly enough. Wave is fantastic. Judy says that she loves Flywheel on YouTube. Preston Lambrecht is your contact there, and with a name like that, he has to be a superhero. I don't think I've ever dealt with Preston, but everybody I've ever dealt with at Flywheel has been top notch for me too. As a company, their PR and just human relations is great. Like, they're out there. I've been on calls with them and met them at WordCamps. Great stuff. I see that Chris McLean on YouTube, you guys, is making an invoice in Wave right at this moment. So if that is not support for for a free freelance software, then I don't know what is. That's awesome. I've tried the one that they have underneath it called FreshBooks, and it wasn't good for me. Honestly, because I didn't want to pay for it. I mean, I'm going to be straight up. When I was first starting freelancing, I was going with free everywhere I could, and I went with Wave because it is completely free. They also talk about different things in terms of communications and client management. I've never used Typeform, but I hear a lot about it. They talk about Slack, which Slack is awesome. I have a Slack channel. I have like Slack channels for my podcast that I run. I have Slack for friends where we just talk about stuff together. These are things. I have Slack for a local developers community around where I live, and they're great. If you don't have a Slack that you can invite clients to be able to have one-on-one conversations, that's something that would be awesome for you to do because it's free. You can use any of it, and you just have that people generally can't invite themselves to yours. You have to invite them up to a certain number of active users, or no, it's messages. You can only have 10,000 messages at any given time, but it archives your old ones, and you have to pay to get used to them. To get access to them. But however you like that, it's awesome. Like, use it. Some people are hesitant to go to Slack, and I'm so glad that I did. We use Slack for all our communications here at ET. It's phenomenal. Like, use it. And there is actually a way now, and I can't remember how I set it up, to have them be able to get their own get an automated invite email, and there's documentation for it too, so you don't have to do it if you don't want to. But it's great. Do it. There's Basecamp. I love Basecamp. Some people won't use Basecamp. It's awesome, and if you can get your clients and your people involved in it and your team, Basecamp is fantastic. And it integrates with Slack. Ift is awesome. The if then this. I use it for pretty much everything I can. Calendly. Y'all, have you ever heard of Calendly? I hope so. Apparently, I'm going through this entire list because I'm really excited about this stuff because I use a lot of this stuff. Calendly is great because you basically set up a schedule for times that you're willing to take meetings, and then people just slot themselves in. That's what I did when I was taking guests for this show. I just had a Calendly link I would send them that had the 2 hours around this show blocked out, and they would just slide in there and put them when they wanted it, and they would get an email. All of it was automated. It was fantastic. So if you take meetings a lot and you have to, it's a struggle to work out your schedule, you make your schedule and then you send it to them and tell them, all right, just sit down. It's great. And just put in wherever you want. It's wonderful. Wonderful. I love it. They talk about marketing and things like that with Buffer. I've never used Buffer, but it's there's one called, I've never used Later, but I use Buffer a lot. Oh, excuse me. And they said that it's like Buffer for Instagram, and there's all, which sounds really great because Instagram I'm not very good at updating to begin with, so I may look at it. But Buffer is awesome because it's a scheduling software that you just add stuff to a queue. So instead of having to say that you want this post to do at 7 o'clock, you want this post at 8 o'clock, you want this post at 9 o'clock, you set up a schedule for whenever you want stuff to be published. You add it to your queue, and the next time one of your milestones rolls around, it publishes. I love Buffer. They also have one of my favorite podcasts, Just So You Know, The Science of Social Media. Go listen to it because it is awesome. I've learned a great deal from it. There's Meet Edgar, MailChimp, Spotify, Brain.fm, and stuff like that too. It's just cool stuff. Y'all should absolutely be checking out some of these and using them. I see people in the comments down here saying that that they're going to try Wave and using it right now. It just makes me happy because it's a really, really good piece of software that I really, whenever, this is what I always say, you guys, if you build something good, if you build something that people like to use, then they will be champions of your brand. That you don't have to do any kind of marketing if people like what you do. And that's one of the things that I like about Elegant Themes. That honestly, people have walked up to me, they saw me in my Divi shirt, and they're like, Divi! And I'm like, yeah, Divi! And it's like, they say stuff like that, like, yeah, I told my friends to use this. That's what makes me happy about our community, and that's what makes me happy about stuff like Wave. It's like, that helped me get through the beginning of freelance, the first year of freelancing, and I'm so grateful for that. And so I want to spread the love to other people. And so that like brand champions are the absolute best thing that you can have. And so if you guys like something and you really and you like the people who make it as well, like they seem to be good people. It's scrolling up a little bit that Judy said that that Wave was developed by former employees of Sage, the Simply Accounting Company, and so that's what they do, is create for small business clients. Just makes I like these people, and so that makes me use the stuff. The last thing that I want to talk about today, and I've got a lot of resources down here that you guys can look at. There may be even more resources than there is anything else, because they're the fun ones to put in there for you guys. That Ghost. Have you guys heard of Ghost? If not, I've written a really good article on it for the Elegant Themes blog. But it is a blogging software that is completely open source and is solely dedicated to publishing. It is not something like WordPress where it is available for CMS work. It's not a content management system. It is just the blog part. It is just publishing, and it's very much like a Medium, except you can self-host it or you can host it online. And I did a write-up of what it was like when I used it last year, and they have posted over the last couple of weeks a blog titled, "After 5 years and $3 million, here's everything we've learned from building Ghost." And of course that's going to make me click into it, because the people seem great. I like the software well enough, but not well enough to move away from WordPress, just based on, you know, what I know, what I do, and, you know, how I make my living. But it's a really good piece of software, and they have broken down a lot of what they've got. They've got a podcast about it with the founders on there. They've linked to the SoundCloud, so you can just listen to it right there. And they talk a lot about nonprofit in tech, where it's stuff like, you know, the Mozilla Foundation and stuff like that. I love the Mozilla Foundation, by the way. Just, it's great. And they're completely open source at Ghost, and it talks about the state of open source, because open source is kind of, as they put it, kind of broken. It's the freedom that you get from open source is equally proportionate. It's equal to, like, you have to balance that freedom with actually being able to get a product out the door, which is why a lot of open source stuff tends to be kind of ugly, because like designers don't want to go into open source a lot. Writers don't want to write for open source, so we don't write good copy and good documentation for open source projects, stuff like that. But they talk about all this regarding Ghost, and it's the Ghost Foundation that does it. Like, I like Ghost. Like, it's something that is fun to write in. That as I was writing and blogging with it, doing the write-up that I did on the ET blog, it was fun. It was pleasant. It was actually way nicer to write in than WordPress is. I don't like writing in WordPress. I do it because I need to. But Ghost was actually really nice to write in. So it was kind of like the Ulysses or Bear apps. If you've ever used one of them, it felt very much like that. It was just a great experience, but it wasn't how I wanted to publish. So it may be something that you guys are interested in kind of dabbling in, because any way that you can diversify your skill set, the more you know kind of stuff, is never going to be a bad thing. So it's always good to know what the competition is doing anyway. So being able to see the transparency through the company here, I thought was really, really neat of them. I really appreciate that, and I'm a big open source fan anyway, so since Ghost is open source, it's worth checking out. So yeah, that is really where I'm going to wrap up today. I am very, very sorry about the couple of missteps with the stream where it went down and came back up and froze. So thank you for bearing with me and sticking around, you guys. I apologize for last week too when OBS didn't like me and was going, not letting me press buttons. But we got through it, we got back, and we've been able to talk and hang out, and it makes me really happy. So every Friday, remember that I'm here at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, looking at all of the best stuff that was put out during the week about WordPress. We have live streams every week on 3 different days. We have this one on Fridays. We have a Mac show in the morning on Monday morning at 6 p.m. Eastern, going through new Divi features, which are always coming out these days. And we have the use case tutorials for the new layout packs and how to do certain things for new different kinds of websites on Tuesday afternoons at 3. So if you're not watching all of those, you probably should be, because they're all awesome, and they're great. Like they do such a good job on the others that I love watching them. So I learned a lot about Divi during the use case ones myself. So thank you guys. I really appreciate y'all coming out and the lively comments, and I'm certainly glad I was able to give you some funny freeze frames while you were waiting on the stream to come back, because I know I do make some really strange faces. I'm very expressive, so if you catch me in the middle of one, I can only imagine how ridiculous that looked. So so you're welcome, Internet. I will see you guys next Friday, same bat time, same bat channel, and like I said, thanks for coming out. I love you guys. I hope that your next week is absolutely fantastic. Bye, y'all.